Hello everybody, so this video is entitled MSTR stock is stretch back soon. When is stretch coming back? Because I am not gonna lie, the performance of stretch has been lackluster. I've been quite disappointed that we are not back at 100 just yet, especially after, this past month, right? Before we depegged after the ex-dividend, we had such a great time ATMing on stretch, and we are not back. I was expecting us to be back by now, and so I want to address what's going on. There is a general risk-offness in the market right now. And I think the explanation is as simple as that. Stretch is not going to do as well when we have this risk-off sentiment. And this was especially true today. And you can see trending towards 99.35 for stretch, the instruments. That was pretty low today. You can see we had a major fear this morning on AI with that WSJ article. General risk-off day across the board today. And of course, another reason would be oil. Oil getting back near 100. Iran, which was supposed to last just a few weeks, is still not addressed. We still have a major block in the Middle East, and so this is getting pretty old, and the markets are becoming risk off. And whether we like it or not, unfortunately, Bitcoin is still associated as a risk on asset. Unfortunately, and this is why we've had disappointing performance since the beginning of the week. Sunday night we're almost at 80, we trended very close to 80, and then manipulation is such that we crashed, and then we crashed again, and now we're at 76. Not a catastrophe by any means, but stretch is such a precise instrument that this is enough for the depegging to continue, because it's such a precise instrument and it reacts to these little things. And so a key question, of course, is the yield enough? Is the yield enough? There's two reasons in my view as to why stretch is not at 100. The first question, and I don't necessarily think it's the case, could be a little bit of it. Maybe we should increase it by 25 basis points. Maybe that's all you need. Maybe we should do 11.75. Maybe that's all that you need, maybe. But it's possible that 11.5% is not enough in a risk-off market, because this is still a Bitcoin-backed asset, and investors still look at Bitcoin as risky. They look at Bitcoin as risky, and so maybe we need to raise the yield yet again. And it would be okay, by the way, because we haven't raised the yield in 2 months. So maybe we need to raise the yield again. I don't know. We'll see what Saylor ends up doing. But also, maybe there is an issue of SATA perhaps taking some of the thunder away from STRC, or perhaps the delta between SATA and STRC is too high. Maybe STRC needs to drop their rate a little bit, and Saylor needs to raise his rate a little bit so we can find some equilibrium in the market. I think most people would agree that STRC is less out on the risk curve than SATA. SATA is more out on the risk curve, but maybe the delta between the two, which they have essentially the same strategy, maybe the delta between the two shouldn't be 1.5%, and B should be 1%. So that's one reason. Another reason, and again, how do you explain SATA, by the way, because this would apply to SATA as well, that reason. And another reason is the back-to-back FUD. Now, we had stretch-specific FUD last week, and that influencer had millions and millions of views, and so that didn't help. But I would argue that we have FUD this week. We have FUD right now. Nakamoto is getting caught into like short selling, and people are saying, oh, it's going to go to 5 cents or something like that. Nakamoto was down today on the Bitcoin conference because there's a tweet that went viral today saying that nobody was attending the Bitcoin conference, like tweeting this video showing very few people attending, and I think it was Cash Patel's session or something like that, but very, very few people. Again, these conferences, it could have been 8 in the morning. You know what I mean? To me, it's not a hard fact. It's not hard data, but it really, really goes viral. Maybe you go to a conference, maybe the session at 8 a.m. in the morning, maybe is not that popular of a session. Anyways, the fact that the Bitcoin conference had to come up with a tweet to say they're absolutely packed in my view, that adds doubt. And so a lot of people are saying that the conference is not a big success, and that impacts NACA stock, and that impacts Bitcoin. But anyways, I can tell you that strategy is working. Strategy is all about Stretch. They have a Stretch booth. They're talking to people about Stretch. They're doing what needs to be done. It also didn't help that XRP paid for a giant advertisement at a hotel, at the Resorts World Hotel, like right next to the conference. They paid for a giant XRP, which is entirely off topic, a giant XRP advertisement. So I don't know. I'm not there, but I know that unfortunately the Bitcoin conference tweet only has $30,000 when they say they're absolutely packed. And of course, when somebody says there's nobody, because it's negative, it's trending towards 1 million views, right? Probably within the next hour, this post will have 1 million views. So that's not adding to the sentiment. That's not helping Bitcoin sentiment. People saying that nobody's excited about Bitcoin right now. And lastly, I'll conclude with this. Tomorrow may just be a very big hurdle to cross for risk assets. Because, I mean, you essentially have the entire NASDAQ reporting Wednesday night. Wednesday night, we're done aside from Apple, but Apple is a more predictable, steady Eddie company. So the market is not waiting too much on Apple. The market is waiting on Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Alphabet. We're waiting to hear about the CapEx, right? So essentially, after the close, we have, we have 4 of the biggest companies. We essentially have all of the top of the NASDAQ reporting tomorrow night. So the market may be worried about this. And of course, as always, the market is worried about Powell's speech. The well-known market crashing speech, right? That always happens, my time at 1:30 p.m. Well, it's in 20 hours. So the market maybe doesn't want to go risk on right now. And that could be as simple as this reason as to why we are not back at 100. My hope is that once these hurdles are over and once the Bitcoin conference FUD goes away, we might clear that $100 price again and ATM again. I really hope so. But yeah, this has been disappointing. I think we should have been back at 100 sooner than that. But unfortunately, the flows in the market are controlled by bigger forces than just digital credit. Digital credit is very small for now. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful day.